Albert Einstein, the guy who gave us the cold, hard mathematics of relativity, uh, he actually didn't believe you chose to get out of bed this morning.
Right, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, completely wild. Like, in fact, he believed every single choice you make, what you wear, who you marry, what career you pursue, is just a complete illusion.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, he didn't use that, deterministic worldview as an excuse to just do nothing. He actually used it as a framework to change the world.
It completely upends our standard image of him. I mean, we usually associate Einstein strictly with equations and physics.
Right.
But the source document we are diving into today, it's titled Einstein and the Paradox of Divine Will. It reveals a thinker deeply aligned with mystical philosophy. He flat out denied the existence of human free will, yet simultaneously led one of the most intensely proactive, politically engaged lives of the 20th century.
And that paradox is exactly why this matters to you listening right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you are constantly making decisions,
Yeah.
feeling the weight and stress of their outcomes.
Oh, constantly. We all do.
Exactly. So understanding Einstein's perspective on this is going to bend your mind. But more importantly, it offers this profoundly practical, stress-relieving framework for how to operate in your daily life.
It really does. It takes that existential dread of destiny and turns it into a roadmap for peace of mind.
So what's the baseline here? Where do we even start with this deep dive?
Well, to understand how he got there, we have to look at his baseline assessment of the human mind. Einstein argued that our minds are entirely preconditioned.
Preconditioned?
Yeah, we navigate our days feeling like we're, spontaneously generating thoughts and desires, but we are actually just executing a program that's already been stored inside our neural pathways.
So we're basically running on, pre-installed software compiled by our environment and our biology.
Exactly that. And the source actually quotes the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer to illustrate this. Einstein deeply admired him, by the way.
How interesting.
Yeah, and Schopenhauer famously argued that we cannot will what we will.
Cannot will what we will. Okay, unpack that.
So you can absolutely choose to act on a specific desire, but you have zero control over the fact that you have that desire in the first place.
Right, the wanting itself is just sort of given to you.
Exactly. The wanting is pre-programmed by your genetics, your upbringing, the media you consume, your past traumas. Einstein took this to its logical endpoint, saying, we are all dancing to a specific tune played by what he called an invisible piper.
An invisible piper.
Yeah, representing the ultimate deterministic will of the universe.
Okay, wait, let me push back on that a bit. If we look at my phone right now, I chose to hit play on this deep dive. I physically held the device. I tapped the screen. The action was mine.
Right, it feels completely independent.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
But I guess if I track the causality backward, I didn't spontaneously generate the interest in physics or philosophy.
You?
That interest is the result of thousands of prior inputs. Conversations, books, my education, all colliding to make this exact audio appealing to me at this exact second.
That's spot on.
It's like, it feels like when a streaming algorithm perfectly predicts what video I want to watch next. I click the thumbnail feeling incredibly spontaneous, but really, my past behavior in the algorithm's code preconditioned the exact environment for that click to happen.
That streaming algorithm is the absolute perfect modern stand-in for Einstein's invisible piper.
Wow.
Yeah, the code analyzed your past behavior, it understood your conditioning better than you did, and it set the tune. You just danced to it.
Just click play.
Right. The illusion is thinking your conscious awareness of the choice is the exact same thing as the authorship of the choice.
Oh, that's heavy.
Einstein would argue your consciousness is just the screen displaying an output that was calculated deep down in the server room.
Okay, but if we accept that we are just like meat computers running pre-written scripts, the historical reality of Einstein's life makes zero sense.
How do you mean?
Well, the man didn't just sit on a park bench watching the universe happen to him. When the Nazis were in ascendancy, he made the fierce, deliberate decision to renounce his German citizenship.
He did.
He actively boycotted a physicists' conference in Italy because Mussolini's black shirts had seized power. How do you reconcile a guy who claims the invisible piper is calling all the shots with a man taking massive world-altering political action?
It is the ultimate paradox. And the crazy thing is, the source document shows that Einstein felt no cognitive dissonance about this whatsoever.
None at all.
None. He held both realities in his mind simultaneously. And to explain how this works mechanically, the text brings in a brilliant concept from the writer and Nobel laureate Isaac Bashevis Singer.
Okay, what was Singer's take?
Singer proposed that the ultimate will of the universe inherently includes a command to humanity. We are mandated to exercise what seems to us to be free will.
So we are commanded to act as if we are the authors of our choices, even though
Yeah.
we actually aren't.
Exactly. Think of it like being cast in a play where you don't have the script in advance.
Okay.
The playwright has already written every single scene, the ending is completely locked, and your character's fate is sealed. But standing on the stage, you can't just freeze and expect the play to finish itself. You still have to actively deliver your lines, hit your marks, and emote with everything you have to make the story move forward.
So your active, sweaty, stressful participation is just a required component of the pre-written script.
Yes, the code requires execution.
It's like being a character in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
The developer already wrote the ultimate ending, but as the character, you still have to physically push the buttons and fight the boss to make the game move forward.
That's a great way to put it.
So practically speaking, for someone listening right now, maybe navigating a high-stakes week at work or a major life transition, how do we live with this act-as-if paradox without just burning out?
It does sound exhausting if you don't have the right mental framework.
Yeah, knowing you're just executing a script sounds completely draining.
Well, the source provides a clear, incredibly practical roadmap for this, and it frames it as an evolution from spiritual immaturity to true freedom.
Okay, spiritual immaturity.
Yeah.
That sounds like where most of us are starting.
Yeah, it's where the vast majority of us operate. We are trapped in our narrow individual perspective. We cannot see the playwright's full script.
Right.
So the protocol in the state is surprisingly straightforward. We must make choices according to our highest conscience, do our absolute best, and then cheerfully accept the result.
Cheerfully accept the results. Man, that's the psychological relief valve right there.
Exactly.
If the ultimate outcome was always in the hands of the invisible piper, there is absolutely zero logic in torturing yourself over a failure once you've put in the maximum effort.
Right. The pressure is entirely removed from the outcome, but the responsibility remains fiercely on the input.
And that input must be guided by conscience. It's not just a license for nihilism like, nothing matters, so I'll do whatever.
No, not at all. You have to act according to what you genuinely believe is right. And the text reveals something fascinating here.
Here's that.
If you continually operate this way, acting right and letting go of the outcome, you actually trigger a mechanical shift in your own consciousness.
Really? Just by accepting outcomes?
Yeah. By observing your actions without being emotionally crushed by the results, you gradually access your spirit or pure consciousness. And this state of pure consciousness possesses the power to fundamentally reprogram your preconditioned mind.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that reprogramming. How does a simple change in perspective actually rewrite the software we've been running our whole lives?
It severs the feedback loop.
Oh, okay.
Normally, your preconditioned mind reacts to a negative outcome with fear or anger, right? And that reinforces those exact neural pathways for the next time.
Right, you build a habit of anxiety.
Exactly. But when you cheerfully accept the outcome, recognizing it as part of a larger universal will, you stop feeding that emotional reaction. You starve the old conditioning.
You literally stop the loop.
Yes. When the mind voluntarily surrenders its need to control the universe, it aligns with pure consciousness. And according to the text, this is the only time a human being develops real free will.
Wait, really? So true free will does exist, but it's just buried?
Yes, it exists, but it's not the default.
How do we know when we've actually accessed it?
The document introduces a profound concept from Guru Nanak to measure this. He taught that God's will, meaning the ultimate flow of the universe, is synonymous with a concept called Sarvata Phala.
Sarvata Phala.
Yeah.
What does that translate to?
It translates roughly to the good of all sentient beings or the benefit of the whole creation.
The good of all. So not just my family, not just my company, but the entire system.
Right. True free will is a capability only granted to those who act on behalf of the whole.
Oh, wow.
Until your mind expands to that level, the universe essentially keeps you locked out. You are too selfish, your perspective is too narrow, and you cannot be trusted to handle the immense reality-shaping power that comes with actual free will.
So it's essentially like we are locked out of the universe's admin privileges.
I love that analogy.
Right. As long as we're acting selfishly, optimizing only for our own bank accounts or our own egos, we're stuck in guest mode.
Yep, guest mode on the cosmic computer.
We are forced to run on the basic pre-programmed user settings, where our choices are just illusions driven by biological and social conditioning. The universe only hands over the password to true free will, those admin privileges, when we prove through our actions that we intend to use that power for Sarbat the Bala.
That is the exact mechanism the source describes. In guest mode, the mind is anxious, it's reactive, and it's entirely predictable. It constantly fights the universe.
Always struggling.
Right. But as you align your inputs with the good of all sentient beings, your perspective widens, your actions naturally harmonize with the invisible piper, and the illusion of friction completely disappears.
But to actually want to use those admin privileges for everyone else, you would have to fundamentally stop seeing yourself as the center of the universe.
Yes, you would.
Did Einstein actually believe humans were capable of that kind of radical shift in identity?
He did, and this hits on the core of his entire philosophy. Einstein argued that our baseline perception of reality is structurally flawed.
Flawed heart.
Well, he defined a human being as a part of the whole universe, but a part that experiences itself as separated from the rest. He famously diagnosed this feeling of separation as an optical delusion of consciousness.
An optical delusion.
Yeah.
Like we look down at our hands, we feel our own individual heartbeat, and our consciousness just plays a trick on us. We perceive an isolated, independent entity fighting against a hostile environment, when in reality, we are just one localized expression of the whole system.
And that delusion is the root of all human suffering and selfish behavior.
Because if you think you're separate, you have to defend yourself.
Exactly. If you think you're separate, you have to hoard resources, you have to fight for status, you have to defend your ego. Einstein believed the ultimate purpose of human life is to graduate from this state, to dissolve the optical delusion and expand our circle of compassion, to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature.
To achieve that, the text mentions he advocated using weapons of the spirit.
Yes, he did.
That is an incredibly evocative phrase, but what does it actually mean in practice? What is a weapon of the spirit?
It is the active application of unity.
Unity.
Yeah. At the level of the body and the conditioned mind, we fight using duality. It's us versus them, force against force. But a weapon of the spirit operates way above that. It is the power of a consciousness attuned to the whole.
Oh, I see.
Think of figures like Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. Their methods, nonviolence, radical empathy, appealing to universal truth, they dismantled massive, heavily armed political systems without firing a physical bullet.
Right, because they weren't fighting part against part.
Exactly. They were aligning with the undeniable truth of the whole, which is vastly more powerful than physical force.
Okay, but wait. We are talking about pure consciousness, dissolving the ego, spiritual weapons, but we have to remember who we are analyzing here.
Right, Einstein.
This is Albert Einstein, the physicist who proved the existence of atoms mathematically, the man who mapped the curvature of space-time. How does a strict, rigorous materialist end up operating like a full-blown mystic?
It seems contradictory.
Yeah, there seemed to be a massive disconnect between the chalkboard and the ashram.
It looks like a disconnect until you examine the mechanics of his scientific process. The source document makes it incredibly clear Einstein did not abandon science to become spiritual. He arrived at this mystical worldview because of his rigorous scientific pursuit.
Because of it. How does calculating the speed of light lead to spiritual unity?
Well, imagine spending your entire life mapping the fundamental laws of the cosmos. Einstein proved that time and space are not rigid, independent things, but a single fluid fabric.
Right, space-time.
He looked deeper into the mechanics of the universe than almost anyone in history. And what he found wasn't random chaos. He found an unfathomably precise, unified superorder. The sheer, overwhelming scale and perfection of the mathematics he uncovered completely crushed his human ego.
Oh, I get it. When you mathematically prove that the universe operates on a scale of determinism that absolutely dwarfs human comprehension, your own sense of self-importance just has to evaporate.
Exactly the case. He recognized a vastly superior logic manifesting in the laws of nature. Coming face to face with that reality induced a state of profound, ego-dissolving humility.
And he called that a religious feeling, right?
Yes. The text quotes Einstein describing this as a religious feeling of a special sort. He clarified that it had absolutely nothing to do with naive religiosity or dogma or a personal God who interferes in daily events. It was a profound, awestruck recognition of the unity of all things, born directly from scientific observation.
So his science meticulously mapped out the walls of a giant cosmic maze. He measured the corridors, he calculated the gravity of the traps. But the mysticism was his realization that he wasn't a mouse trapped inside the maze. He, and all of us, are the maze itself.
I love that. Yes.
And once you realize you are part of the architecture, the idea of being trapped by a predetermined script stops being terrifying.
Because you are the music, not just the instrument. This realization allowed Einstein to make a clear hierarchical distinction between our faculties. Like the mystics, he understood the absolute superiority of the spiritual over the mental.
Right.
The mind is limited. It's reacting to past data, forever stuck in the optical delusion. True freedom exists only in the realm of the spirit, which observes the whole.
This all hinges on the idea that our everyday perception is just flawed. But I am sitting here in a three-dimensional room. I remember yesterday. I am experiencing right now, and I'm anticipating tomorrow.
Sure, time feels undeniably linear.
Yeah, totally linear. So how did he escape this deeply ingrained 3D illusion?
Through the implications of his own relativity theory, physics showed him that the strict division between past, present, and future is an illusion.
Right.
In the block universe model implied by relativity, all moments in time exist simultaneously. Your experience of time flowing is just your consciousness moving through a static reality.
So the script isn't just pre-written. The movie has already been shot.
Yes. And because he knew the physical world of linear time and separate objects was an illusion, he realized that you cannot think your way out of it.
Because the mind is part of the illusion.
Exactly. More mental gymnastics just tangle you further in the conditioned mind. The text shows Einstein understood the only way to overcome the optical delusion is to experience the sensation of the mystical. It's a direct experiential shift in consciousness that bypasses the rational mind entirely.
Okay, so if we distill all of this, the invisible piper, the optical delusion, the admin privileges, down to the core value for the listener, it actually offers a surprisingly aggressive strategy for daily life.
It really does.
You don't retreat.
Yeah.
You don't sit on the couch. You engage with the world completely.
You engage maximally, but you drop the psychological baggage.
Right.
Make your choices. Fight for what your conscience dictates. Aim your actions towards sarbat-dabada, the good of everyone involved. Do your absolute best in whatever situation you face, whether it's a board meeting, a creative project, or a family crisis. And then cheerfully accept whatever happens, knowing the outcome was mathematically baked into the universe before you were even born.
By doing that, by acting selflessly and letting go of the terror of failure, you literally sever the loops of your own anxiety. You rewrite your conditioned software and align yourself with the ultimate flow of reality. It is a philosophy of maximum effort and zero anxiety.
Maximum effort, zero anxiety. It allows you to play your part in the cosmic play with absolute passion without ever forgetting that it is ultimately just a play.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Einstein and the paradox of divine will, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final incredibly provocative thought inspired by his worldview, something to really chew on long after this audio finishes.
Lay it out.
So Einstein proved through physics that our everyday experience of linear time, the past, the present, and the future is just a persistent illusion. All of time exists at once. If that is true, and we are indeed dancing to a completely pre-written tune, consider what happens when you make a decision. Could it be that the sensation of making a choice right now isn't actually you deciding the future? Could it be that your consciousness is just slowly catching up to a reality that has actually already happened? Are you deciding, or are you just finally perceiving a choice that was locked in before the stars even formed? Something to think about the next time you're trying to decide what to have for lunch.